Daniel Major, CEO of GoviEx Uranium. Two primary projects being our Madaouela Project in Niger and our development projects as well, Muntanga in Zambia.
Hello.
Hello. And the W&A again.
W&A again. Right. We had a chance to speak briefly this morning downstairs and grabbing a coffee, which to wake us all up. And you kindly agreed to come up here. So I appreciate that, because I think not many people want to stand in front of camera and talk about what's going on in Niger at the moment. So from your own lips, I'm not going to push you because you've got relationships in country to manage and take care of. What is happening? What do we need to know? What's important for us to know?
I think the first thing, let's put everything in context regarding coups. It's not the first coup.
No.
And it's not the first coup in Niger. And I think the one thing to make it very clear is that no matter what government is in charge of a country, it still needs tax revenue. And the one thing you will see across all governments and all coups is mining industries carry on and continue. And you look at Mali at the moment, and the gold operators continue to produce gold and pay their taxes, development. So I think that's the first point I would make here, that, you know, what you're seeing at the moment is a transition process. What that transition is going to ultimately be, at this stage, I don't know. And that, I think, is the biggest question to everybody at the moment. What we do have is an ability to continue to work with the government. Obviously, from our point of view, we're not, doing a lot of work on the ground, but we continue to work with the ministry appointee ministers. We can deal with the environmental issues and updating our environmental permit. The mines minister is known to us, and we can continue to deal with the mines ministry on whatever issues we need to deal with that.
Okay. So I agree with you with regards to coups. 70 coups in Africa since 1950s. Okay, so it's usually a transition of government.
Correct.
I would say that, and no matter who's in power, the need for the country to do business, foreign direct investment, taxes and so forth.
Yep.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I guess the second point with regards to the issues being faced is it comes back to time. So not only is time money, but time is uncertainty in
Correct.
the markets, right? And I think that's what it's looking for. So is there any sense of, I think they've been, called a junta, the new junta. They've been called a new transitional government. Is there any sense of the timing on this one, their ability to negotiate sensibly so that international business understands where it stands?
Okay. Obviously, these are my opinions, and I'll put it that way. What you have seen in this scenario is a very strong regional reaction to this change that's come through. ECOWAS have come in with a very strong stance of their view that they do not want to see this kind of transitional change to keep repeating itself.
Tell people about ECOWAS. It's
basically the economic forum for West Africa. There are 14 different countries in it in West Africa. Two are currently sitting on the side, being Burkina Faso and Mali, which effectively part of it, but currently are on the side of that line. And what has been interesting with ECOWAS has been almost unanimous view by ECOWAS that they cannot allow these changes in transition to continue through, and that Niger has to be the stopping point. You have seen a almost complete shutting down of Niger from an operation, from a import and export point of view. You cannot use the roads in and out of Benin, out of Nigeria, out of top Algeria. So effectively all of the main transport hubs shut down. You can't go through. The government has just recently reopened the air routes, so you can now come in and out by air, but road transport not happening. You've had a reduction in power coming out of Nigeria, so you've seen power cuts coming through. You've seen ECOWAS shutting down the banking system effectively within Niger as well, because they control the majority of the banking system going through. So you've seen hyperinflation coming through. Because of that, it's somewhat constrained the junta's position. ECOWAS is sitting with a very strong position at the moment that they would like to see a return of President Bazoum to power. That is it. And until that point, they will not change their position at all.
Okay.
The junta or government, whichever way you want to call them, or pushes as well is another phrase that gets used around, at this time do not want to negotiate on that position. and are trying to find a place to go forward with it.
Right.
So I think the problem now sits where we are insofar as where does this finish? And more importantly, how does the international community see the final result going forward?
Right.
And that's going to be the key of where this settles down. And if it's acceptable to the international community, then we will see a return to governance. And until that point, and I can't tell you how long that will take.
I don't think anyone can. The French obviously driving that. I think their first reaction was, let's go military, but I think the sensible heads have prevailed.
I think the US are doing probably as much, if not more, driving of this process
Okay, that's
than anyone else.
What does that look like?
Well, you're seeing, and very clearly in the news, that the Americans will not call this a coup. They want to find a negotiated settlement. ECOWAS has made it very clear that they want a negotiated settlement, that while they have put on the table a military response as an option, that is the nuclear response that you would expect from Vladimir. You know, it's always sitting there, but don't expect it to happen unless something gets to that final point that there is nothing left to get there. So you are seeing very much an approach by ECOWAS as the African entity, and the African Union as well being involved, to saying, look, we need to find a settlement for this process. We should find an African approach to getting that, which is why ECOWAS is doing it.
So it's going to be an economic solution, not an arms solution.
Yeah.
So then does this become a little bit like South America in terms of that kind of socialist unrest that we've seen in Chile and Peru and Colombia, etc., where it's a question of what the people want or people feel they want and the government's ability to deliver that versus juxtaposed to the economic realities of countries, you know, in those countries in South America, but also in places like Niger, places like, you know, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire.
Niger basically is running out of money very fast.
Right.
The government's struggling to pay salaries. You know, we can see that on the ground, and that's the reality I think that's come through, is that while the junta had its views for going into this process, it is clear that the country needs international economic support. And that was very clearly made by the president in an early letter, that 40% of the budget of Niger is funded by international funds to go forward.
Right.
And I think that is the reality that's going through at the moment. So I think what we're watching on the ground is at what point does the population realize that do they either want what they've got as a new transition government, or what they had was a better option. And you're starting to see an increasing resistance internally within the country, but more importantly, not just an increasing resistance, an actual increasing rise in the number of pro-Bazoum demonstrations.
Okay.
So I think we are still, unlike Mali, where you saw a very quick takeover of government and government just got on with it.
Yeah.
That has not happened here. And I think the longer that process goes on, the more likely, in my opinion, we revert to the past and everything will go back to where it was, because the current infrastructure will find it's inoperable.
That transition is it needs to be quick in Africa.
Yes.
And typically they are transition of government because it's in everyone's interest to get it moving. It hasn't been here, and I guess that's the uncertainty. But we don't know when. We know it needs to happen, and all pressure is being applied.
Correct. And I think the positive from our point of view is that, you know, the underlying government, you know, ministers, etc., are working with the companies who are there.
Okay.
To try and find a way forward.
And replacement ministers, Ministry of Mines personnel known to you. So conversations continue.
Yeah.
But in the backdrop of something needs to get resolved.
The wider politics needs to get resolved, right. And that's the bit that we're watching.
Okay, I'm not going to push you on company stuff or anything else at the moment, because it's really, I wanted the Niger insight.
Yep.
You've given us that. come back on and let us know when things start moving.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, okay?
Well, and, we can talk about Zambia, where things are really moving.
Well, actually, do you know what? Let's quickly do that.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of jurisdictional de-risking.
Which is why we have 2 projects.
So, had 3 at one point,
Oh, we still,
but have bits of it in terms of what you've done with that. But yeah, you've got the jurisdictional de-risking. So if things do drag on, what happens? Would you be thinking, well, I can relocate, move staff down there, and move that project forward?
Well, we're already moving that project forward.
Yeah,
so don't forget, we just move it faster.
Right, that's my point.
Well, that's the thing. Okay. We will just say, instead of our total commitment being there,
right?
Well, we split always. We'll just reshuffle the ratio,
right?
And we can start to fast track the other project.
Right.
Our intention is to have a feasibility study out by kind of middle of next year. On drilling, all the stuff that's going on there is what we got a lot of support from government down there as well. So yes, jurisdictional risk was one of the reasons we did the transaction.
But it's from the place of, it's not because we're moving away from Niger. Niger will get resolved, but whilst it's getting resolved, we're keeping busy.
Absolutely.
With the growth story.
Because we can.
Okay.
Because we can. And the last thing, as I pointed out to you, you look at our valuation for Muntanga versus our market cap. You're trading at 1/3 the NAV of the Muntanga project at the moment. You're getting Niger for free at the moment. It's all risked out.
Okay, good man.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.